Is it on? I'm sure it's comes with a little delay. So it's on.
I can't find a live one.
Yeah, it's quite annoying that there's going to be so many, separate videos. But that's that's simply because of my computer, and it's again it's have this tendency to overheat. Okay. Anyway, so here's I know that some of the guys are still in a corridor to stretch out, but because we have so much stuff to cover today, so I will keep on continue. So here, this is an example of how the single week look like. So there will be always a lecture material, which is this PowerPoint material. So I'm going to put that to Moodle database. There's going to be recording available. Then the assignment that I'm expecting you to do, you will have a week and 6 days time to submit it. So because here you can see that the weekly assignment that is designed for first weekly assignment that will close on Sunday next week at midnight. So you will have all the way that time to do your submission. Once it is closed, then you cannot do it any longer, because immediately when it is closed, there's going to be an answer available in the Moodle database. So afterwards, it makes no sense to submit it any longer, because you can see how is a correct result. So that's how it is. So that's a Moodle database. So please check it out that frequently. Follow the YouTube channels like you do already. Okay. All right. Literature handouts. The part 1, part 2 will be available in part 2 will be available in a Moodle database. Part 1 is already there. Again, as I mentioned, print it out. Keep it with you all the time. So wherever you have spare time, you go and have a coffee, open it, study. That's the way to success. Okay. Lecture tutorial notes. So it's going to be PowerPoint presentations. Those will be available in a Moodle database. And weekly week work, homework assignments, those two in Moodle database. Okay. Sounds clear. Okay, some guidelines to pass the course. Trust yourself. Can-do attitude. That really what is important here. Because soon you will be surprised that the concept that I'm explaining is like parcel this, parcel that, is extremely complicated mathematics. Concepts hard to get an understanding. Like what is this related to machine performance? But you will learn it if you have this can-do attitude. So it's going to work out. It's going to be actually pleasant for you. Then this is what I already mentioned. So you need to follow the lectures and read the handouts every single week. You miss the week and you will be surprised, because the speed here is high. And some of the concepts you have to follow over and over again. And then do exercises by yourself. I am aware of the fact that there's a lot of material out there, and there's a temptation that you can copy the results from the previous years. Don't do that, because we wanted to keep it simple. Something that you can, with reasonable effort, you can do it by yourself. And that exactly is an idea. It definitely helps you to pass the written exam. Okay. Again, I need to take this window off and keep this window visible. Okay. Introduction. So it was a very lengthy ground rules. So introduction will be next. And then I'm also planning to explain how is a description of rigid bodies a little later today. So we'll see if we're able to do it or not. Okay, introduction. What's an objective of this course? Why is actually a good idea to participate in this course? Then a little bit about the details. So what is a computer simulation? Level we're doing it in this course in the perspective of this course. So I'm not looking really at the scientific computing in a sense that affects the science life. I'm looking more like what it means to engineers, for us. So that's about what is a computer simulation, how is that we can build the simulation model, and where is that we can utilize the models. Okay, shortly about that. I will be brief, so I'm not going to get in too much in the details. A little bit about how is this. Okay, here comes the bad news. This course is about theory. Yes, it's about theory of simulation. And you can believe it what it means in practice. It means that it's quite involved in mathematics. That's what it's going to be. I want you to learn the theory, what's behind the softwares that are using the computer simulation. I want you to understand how is it you can build the equation of motion. But just looking at the mechanical system, and you can create the equation of motion for any kind of structure you want. That's what I would like you to learn. I want you to learn the concept behind. And then later, there is a follow-up course, which, by the way, it may be the best course in the entire university, and that one is the simulation laboratory course. That is very enjoyable. Then we can apply the simulation for different kind of practical problems. We're running things in real time, we're playing games, so on and so on and so forth. But not this course. This course is about the theory. Okay, but why is that we're doing this theory? Okay, we do that because you are master level students. I want you to understand what is actually the idea behind the buttons, behind the user interface. So I want you to understand how is that you can use a simulation as a part of the product development and a product processes, other product processes, not just the product development, but marketing, maybe service business, so on and so forth, many different product processes, how the simulation can be used there. And then I want you to understand the relationship between the computer simulation and reality. That's what is quite critical in this course. And then you need to learn how to use simulation tools to solve practical problems, and that's what the simulation assignment is about. Okay? So now I will ask, any comments or questions so far? Make sense? Or none of this stuff make any sense? Kind of. All right. So you're comfortable? Okay. What is it you're doing? This? Or you don't know? Okay. That I don't know how that actually looked like. No idea. Okay. So this course, this picture, by the way, is quite important for us because when we're building the simulation models, we typically consider the model to consist of several different engineering disciplines. There are parts of the models that describe the mechanical components. This box here. Mechanical components are like lift arm, this one here, hydraulically driven crane, swing arm, this one here, pilar here. So those are like the steel structures of the machine. And we wanted to make a model that described the mechanical component, but not just the mechanical component, because mechanical component as they are is not really a machine. You need to have something to actuate the machine, to introduce the motion. And here the motion is introduced by using hydraulic cylinders. So it's a hydraulically driven structure. Now what is important in terms of dynamic performance of the machine like this is that you have to have a model of actuators that's hydraulics. You have to be able to combine those models with the mechanical models. And then you can have something that is a good representation of reality. And that's exactly what we wanted to do in this class. Not just the mechanical modeling, not just the actuator modeling, but the combination. Then there's a control system that is often quite important. We are not going to touch that heavily in this course. In real-time models, then there is a user. That's extremely important. We're going to look a little bit at that direction. We'll look at a little bit about the gamification perspectives. And then there's a environment model that is in this end here. We're not going to really touch to that end. But that's kind of like big picture of this course. That's what this is about. Okay, what is this computer simulation then? Okay, the idea of the computer simulation is actually very simple. So what we will use then is that we will use this well-known physics laws. An example is a Newton's second law, which says that there is externally applied forces. Hold on, I need to use this. External applied force is equal than inertia force is multiplied by acceleration. This, by the way, is exactly the equation we will use in this class over and over again. So what we will do then to make this as a computer simulation. So we're telling the computer that, okay, here's my equation, solve it for me. And that's exactly what the computer will do it for us. That's the basic idea. But it's a little bit of rocky way. There are some, corners that you need to be very, very careful when you do that. Because, of course, the computer is unable to understand the equation as it is written here as a scalar components. But you have to use matrices and vectors to make it in a format that the computer can understand that. And when you actually do so, then this is how it looks. These are the equations we will introduce to computers. And now, later, well, after 6 weeks or so, you actually start to understand what are all these components. You are not going to be surprised to see this equation, but instead you will be very comfortable. Oh yeah, I know this stuff. I know this is, this one here is a Lagrange multiplier. I know what's the physical interpretation of that, and I can build it for any kind of mechanical system. This is a mass matrix. I know what that is. This one here is a quadratic velocity vector. I know what that is. That's the level that I would like you to understand this simulation. Scared? Me too. Me too. I don't know how we're going to survive here. Okay. And of course, there's then the other equations that express the actuators. So it's all about the vectors and matrices, how we're putting them together. Okay. So here's an example, about the animation. So maybe, I don't know if I'm able to run this animation right now. I will give a shot. But the idea is that we will use the computer simulation in order to accelerate the learning process. Very important to understand that, because sometimes there is a misunderstanding that computer simulation will do the thinking for you. It will not. It will help you to learn it fast, but nothing else. You still have to use your brains and common sense. Otherwise, it's no use. It's no good for you. So think about it as a tool to accelerate the learning process. And now I will do this tricky business. So I will switch from one app to another app. We'll see. Yeah, maybe this is going to work out to play these animations. This, by the way, my computer is yelling like no limit. So I'm not sure if it's able to stand this. Okay, so we almost here. Okay, this just shows like a animation afterwards, so it shows like how the engine is moving. Why we do that? Because it allows kind of like getting into machine and getting into engine to understand the relation between the different components. And again, why we want to do that? To learn it, how it performs. And once we have an understanding about its performance, we can improve it. That's the idea of simulation. But simulation as it is, just the videos, that's no good. It's not going to help you. But that with the reasoning, good reasoning, that's what makes a big difference. Okay, what is the tool that we will use to make this happen? So we're going to use something that is called multi-body system dynamics. So you're going to learn the theory behind of it, and you will learn how to use some of the commercial softwares. We will use, again, we're going to use Atom software, the one that you can see here, and we will also use Mever software. Mever is tailor-made for real-time applications, which is kind of exciting. So it helps you to create different kind of games and different kind of real-time applications. Okay, but we will use a commercial software, but during these lectures you will learn the theory behind. Here's a few examples. So here's a biomechanical model, which is again biomechanical model. So it's pretty much same that making a model of other mechanical systems. This shows the simple exercise when a volunteer is walking, sitting down, standing up, and do another walking. So we do that because we wanted to learn how is a bone strengthening process. The bones that are blue in color are actually modeled in such a way that we can monitor the strains and strain rates from the bone. And that's possible with computer simulation. There's an alternative. An alternative is the way that you can take a volunteer, graduate student, voluntary credit assurance, they kind of get along. So that's what it means. You ask the volunteer to take quite a bit of painkillers, then you lift a shirt, the jeans up here, you make a cut here, you put the strain gauge to the bone. I mean, of course, you take all the flash off, then you put the strain gauge to the bone, you put the flash back, more painkillers, the wires come off from your leg, and then you walk and exercise. That's nasty, nasty business. And you cannot really do that in Finland or any other Western countries. So that's why what we need to do is that we have to use computer simulation. That's exactly what we're doing here. And here's a pedaling device, pretty much the same purpose. So we wanted to learn like how the different muscles are cooperating and what it means exercise-wise to do this pedaling device. Okay, here's a real-time simulation model. I don't know if this is playing for me today. It is playing. Okay, this is an example about the harvester tractor and how it is actually solved in real time. So that's kind of what you're going to learn in this class too. This is in 3D, and in this class we're going to focus on planar cases, two-dimensional cases. Okay, but idea, the concept you're going to learn, you can apply to game engines like what you can see here in theory, and then you can build, you can understand what's behind here, and you can even have a knowledge to build a simulation tool by yourself, simulation software by yourself. Okay, let's skip that. Here's a place you can go and try how it feels. This is a sim studio located close to us. It's actually in a corridor that combines the building number 6 and what building is this? 4. Yeah, so you can go there and play. So there's 2 different models at the moment available. So there's an excavator model with deformable ground, and then there's a tractor model. So go and play. So then you will see how it is. And later when people are walking by, you can say, look at me, I'm the guy that actually understands every single theory behind of these simulators. So it's me. Yes, me. Okay. All right. So let me switch this to another app. Okay. So where is that we can use a simulation then? This is for some reason not willing to. Here, no. Close, but not quite. Yeah, here. Okay, this is where you can use a simulation in a different product processes. So of course we can look a little bit about the product development, but it can be used in other product processes than the product development. It can be used in the marketing, service business, when looking at new business opportunities and others. The final item that I'm not going to read all these items to you, but the final item is this one here, motivation for mathematical skills. We'll see if it's going to work out. So if you start loving mathematics because of this course, that will be a great accomplishment. That will be really something that you really want to know more about matrix manipulations and all that because of simulation. We'll see. You think that it's going to happen, or you are pretty sure that it's not going to happen for you? Pretty sure it's not going to happen for you. Okay, then let's move on. So that's about the introduction. So I know that we still have a little bit of time, so I'm thinking that I will keep you in this place until 6 o'clock. What do you say? You guys comfortable with that decision? It was my decision, not yours. So I will keep you here until 6 o'clock, because that's simply because there's just so much mathematics that we still need to cover. And not really mathematics, but other topics that we need to cover, just to get the good start for this course. Okay? Let me know if you need a break. Do you need a break? Okay, so let's go then. Mathematics needed in a course. Okay, you log into Moodle site, and you will know that there is a document available which is a collection of web links. Use that if you feel that your skills regarding the matrix operation and vector operation is not in a level that makes you feel comfortable. We are not going to use like overly complicated operations, but we will use a simple mathematical manipulations, matrix manipulations. We're going to use a partial operations with matrices and vectors, but that's pretty much what we're going to do. So it's not going to be too involving, but if there's something that you feel shy, go and check. And there is like when you look at the links available, you know, if there is like, okay, mathematics needed to describe the rigid bodies, there are links. Follow that to refresh your skills regarding the mathematics. And those links takes you the Khan's Academy website. Are you familiar with the Khan's Academy? Yeah, it's an awesome website. It is really good website to learn about the mathematics. Very important even for those students that are strong in mathematics but are uncomfortable to, or actually is not aware like what are some of the terms in English. Because this class is all about English. So there will be nothing about any other languages. That's simply because I only know 2 languages, and those are English and Finnish. And I guess some of you are not comfortable with the Finnish. So my Russians and other like Chinese is non-existing. I'm able to do it for you. Okay. So let's practice a little bit. Just gonna mention a few basic items related to mathematics, simply that you actually understand what I'm referring to when I'm explaining things to you in related to multi-body system dynamics. So I have here matrix A, a matrix A. Hold on. So this is a matrix A, which consists of m number of rows. So the rows are these ones here, and n number of columns. So there are rows and columns. Rows and columns that are really important, and that gives the dimension for a matrix. Okay, so this time here I have a dimension that are m multiplied by n. Again, m number of rows, n number of columns. Quite often we're dealing with the skew matrices, meaning that there's equal number of rows and columns. And if you have a skew matrix, you know, then you can actually find something that is called matrix inverse if it fulfills certain conditions. But anyways, so we're dealing quite a bit about the matrices. A very basic matrix operation we're dealing with is a matrix transpose operation. Simple operation where the diagonal component stays where they are. So if I have here 2 by 2 matrix, 2 rows, 2 columns, you know, if you look at the diagonal component, they are not affected because of the transpose operation. So they will be staying where they are. But ID numbers of rows and columns for other than diagonal components will be switched. To give you an example, you know, this one here, originally located in the first row, second column. After transpose operation, it will be second row, first column. Right? That's the idea. Simple. Yes, sir. No, sir. You want to go back home already? Or you don't know? Okay. Then, quite often we look into diagonal matrices. So the diagonal matrices are the ones where where the off-diagonal components are having the numerical value equal to 0. Special case about the diagonal matrix is an identity matrix. We use that quite frequently. Example about the 2 by 2 identity matrix is this one here. So it consists of 2 rows, 2 columns, and the diagonal components are equal to 1. Example about 2 by 2 identity matrix. Okay, the matrix operations we need here is a sum of 2 matrices, very simple. So we're just taking the components from the corresponding number of rows and columns, and we sum them up. Simple operation. And I don't even have an example about that, but the certain component in a matrix C, which is that comes as a result of when I sum the matrix A and B, that one you can get by taking your corresponding components from right place of columns and rows and columns. Okay? Makes sense. All right. Then the matrix operation, this by the way is the last stuff that I will explain here. So sometimes we need to multiply the matrices, and so it goes like kind of like visual explanation about the component that is located here in our final resulting matrix. You can get it by taking the corresponding row and corresponding column from this matrix, which is A and the B, and then you're kind of multiplying two vectors together. That's how you can get the one component. Example shown here, but I'm not going to step into details of this example. This is the stuff that I'm expecting you to know. If not, go ahead and take a look at the Khan's Academy website and the links that are available in the Moodle website. Okay, then sometimes we're dealing with we need to take a matrix inverse. If you take a matrix inverse, by the way, you can get the inverse if the rank is having the same value than the amount of rows and columns. So that's a basic math. Again, if unclear to you, check out the Khan's Academy. So if you have an inverse of the matrix multiplied by original matrix, you can get the identity matrix as a result. So how was an identity matrix? The one where the diagonal components are having the numerical value 1, off diagonal components will be 0. Clear? Okay. Often we're dealing with orthogonal matrices. And orthogonal matrices are something that if you look at the vectors that are coming out from the columns of the matrix, those are perpendicular with respect to each other. Perpendicular, that's a condition that is easy to understand in two-dimensional and three-dimensional space, as the coordinate system or the axis of the coordinate system are perpendicular with respect to each other. So like if I have the planar coordinate system, x and y are perpendicular, and that's a condition of orthogonality. And if the coordinate systems are unit in length, which even simplifies the things. Okay? Then the vector is a final thing that I will explain. So here's a vector that consists of n number of components. Sometimes we have to compute the length of the vector, and that's simply you take each one of the components, you put it in a power 2, you put it onto the square root. That's it. So it's quite simple. And the matrix, vector multiplied by vector, that's exactly the same procedure what we use in a case of matrix multiplication. End of the math. What do you say? You need to show me something. Okay? Okay, so it's a little bit like this. Others? You're just too tired to play with me today. Correct. Okay. Don't go yet, because the fun part is about to come. We're not going home yet. Soon we will, but not right now. Okay. Description of rigid body. So let's move on. Like, okay, how is that we can get started from the whole business of simulation? Okay, so let me introduce that to you. So first, what we're going to do is that we will look like what kind of system is a multi-body system. And hold on, because there will be an in-class quiz coming soon. So make sure you understand what I'm saying. If not, please ask me to repeat it. And by the way, here's the rule. First one raising a hand and say, Aki, I don't understand. Can you repeat it? We'll get lunch coupon. Lunch. Free lunch. Just raise a hand and say, I don't understand. Repeat it, please. Simple. And I will buy you lunch. Okay? Deal? But you need to raise a hand and say, I need you to repeat it to me because I don't get it. And it's no shame, because you know what your fellow student just next to you, what he's thinking? He's thinking, oh, another 15 minutes and then I'll go back home and I will open a beer and then I will watch a little bit of TV. They don't pay any attention whatsoever to this stuff. Believe me. So if you raise a hand, you sound like a clever guy. Right?
I don't understand.
So what is that you don't understand? So you need to tell me what is that you don't understand. We're going to play this game and you will be surprised. Okay? All right. Okay. Description of rigid bodies. Okay, so I said that we're using the method that is called multi-body system dynamics. This is, by the way, what I will ask you the next slide. Okay, what is a multi-body system? Well, as the title implies, it is a system that consists of multiple bodies. Okay, so that's the first definition. Second definition, or that's the first part of the definition. Second part of the definition is that these bodies have to be coupled together via constraints. Constraints. What is a constraint? Well, constraints is a mathematical expression of joints. Joints that limits the motion possibilities of two bodies, neighboring bodies. Say I have here beam body, beam-like body like this, a beam-like body like that, and I will couple them together via revolute joint. Now, because of the revolute joint, this actually limits the motion possibilities, because this kind of motion is no longer possible. Here's a revolute joint system where there's a multiple bodies and the bodies are connected together via constraints, joints. That's a multi-body system. Clear? Okay. In multi-body system dynamics, we don't make any assumption regarding the magnitude of rotation. Rotation can be large. Typically, it is large. Give you an example. You know, this one here. Oh, hold on. This one here is a crankshaft. And when the piston is moving back and forth, the crankshaft is rotating all the time. So it's rotating, like no limit. To describe that, you have to use sine and cosine trigonometric functions. And once you have that, and once you use them to build the equation of motion, generally, you don't have analytical solution available. You don't have that. So the way we're resolving the equation of motion will be based on numerical integration. So we have to use numerical tools to solve the responses in timeline or domain, in a frequency domain. Doesn't really matter, but always we have to use a computer simulation tools, integration simulation tools. Okay, so I have here two systems. So this one here is a crankshaft mechanism, which consists of 1, 2, 3 moving bodies. And these 3 moving bodies are connected together via revolute joint. Is this a multi-body system or not? What? Yes? Yes, correct. It is multi-body system. Of course it is multi-body system because multiple bodies connected together via joints. Here I have another system. I have here 1, 2, 3 moving bodies. Multi-body system. Yes or no? No, not multi-body system. Why not? Because the connection is via spring element. It's a completely different concept. Because if I take I need to raise these drawings. So if I take the hold of this piston body and I force piston body to go right hand side, that direction, how the other bodies are following? They are following because of the constraints, but they're following the certain way. That's the only possible way they can follow. That's called kinematics. Here, if I take the force, the spring may be very high, so you need a lot of forces. Here you have it. So here's a lot of forces. You press the body. How the other bodies are following? It really depends how his force is imposing the system. So it's not really kinematics. It's about the forces. So this one here, strictly speaking, is not multi-body system. Even though that it consists of multiple bodies, but missing component is a constraint. You got the concept? Sure? Because I will ask. Clear? Or would you like me to repeat it? No? Okay? Fine. What is not the multi-body system? Choices are a bridge, an actuator, 4-bar mechanism, Elvis. One is not a multi-body system. And now, prior to that, let's look at how was the scoring from this one here. So we have 71 answers. Let's see. Okay. So the correct answer, which was not correctly made here was I'm doing great, because we all doing great here. Others are not incorrect answers. This, everyone will get the point out of this. So it's not important this time. But the next one is a big deal. So which one is a correct? I mean, which one is not a multi-body system? Bridge, excavator, 4-bar mechanism, Elvis. Sure. Here. Yeah, so here are the 4 choices. One is not the multi-body system. But which one is not the multi-body system? You want to communicate with your fellow student? No need, because you know what's not the multi-body system. Correct. Okay? Okay, I will let you to answer this question. No, I need to wait until you answer this question, because I don't want to show the correct answer to you. So it was 70-something students. Have you already entered your answer? Okay, stay logged in. So don't make a multiple entries to this Socrative. So once you log in, stay locked. So don't log off. Okay? So what do you think is going to be success rate today? Any guesses? So let's make a lottery here. So what is your prediction? Success rate. How many will vote the correct one? Percentage-wise. I'm saying 65. Others will fail. What are you saying? Saying nothing to me. 75. Could be. But yes, sir.
What was the
Elvis.
Elvis? What is the name of the person?
Well, yeah, it's this guy here, Elvis. Have you ever heard it? You haven't? Seriously? You have. Elvis. It's Elvis. Come on. You don't know what is an Elvis. Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley, like the most famous guy in this planet. You don't know him? Yeah, I don't know him in person, but he died already like 100 years ago. But it's like a rock and roll icon more than an idol. Okay. But one of these is not the multi-body system. Okay. So, we're going here. So now, what I would like to explain to you next, and this will be the last item that I'm explaining to you today, is that, okay, what is that we can do in a multi-body system dynamics? By the way, I need to check, like, okay, this is a picture that is extremely important for us. Okay, so multi-body system is a system that consists of multiple bodies like we agreed. I will get back to this Socrative in a second. So we have here, this particular example, I have 3 moving bodies. Okay? They are, again, connected together via revolute joint. Okay. But now we're going to go one step down to look like, okay, what are the ingredients to make a multi-body system? The one step down is obvious step, so it's a body. So we have to look at the body, how we can describe the body. But body actually is not very interesting, because we need to take one more step down and look like, okay, what are the ingredients that makes a body? So where the body is made of. Okay, you know where the body is made of. It's made out of particles. Particles. And this is a mathematical definition of points. Very small dots. One is shown here. So this is a particle here. There's no dimensions in the particle, because it's so small, it's so tiny. And again, keep in mind that the particle is not something that you can go to nearest supermarket or hardware store and say, 100 particles, please. It's not available here. It's a mathematical quantity that we're using to define the particles. The bodies. So it's not something that you can actually see how they are. But it's more like a mathematical tool we'll need here to define the bodies. Okay, so if there is no dimension, then the rotation of the particle is immaterial. Makes no difference. You don't need to describe the rotations. All right? Makes sense. So now let's look at this one here. Why is this now? Okay, I have here a body that consists of 3 particles. And again, the particles, they have no dimension, and that's why I don't need to describe their orientation, their rotation. I don't need that. So how is that I can describe these 3 particles with respect to reference coordinate system? Typically, this is an assignment we're facing in multi-body system dynamics and in dynamics in general. So basically, we wanted to describe everything with respect to global coordinate system or reference coordinate system, many names, typically referring the same thing, which is a coordinate system that stands still or moving in a certain predefined way. Okay, now it's standing still, so it's not moving anywhere. And my assignment here is to define these particles, all the particles of the system. That's my assignment. So because they don't have any rotation, I keep doing this such a way that I define each one of them by using a vector. In 2-dimensional space, the vector will consist of 2 components, correct, which will be the projection along the global x-axis and the projection along the global y-axis. That will be my vector. Okay? Here I have 3 vectors. And if you look at the ingredients of these vectors, so this one here consists of 2 components, Rx, Ry, Ry, like this, 2 components. Here this one too consists of 2 components, this one too consists of 2 components. Now when body will translate and rotate, numerical values of these vectors, they will change. Alright, meaning that when I'm describing these 3 particles, I already need 6 variables to describe them. Okay, this is not going to work out. Obviously, it's not going to work out because, as mentioned here in the text, the body consists of infinite number of particles. Now I should use an infinite number of vectors to describe this the way that I just showed it to you. No way. I cannot do that. I don't have a computational power to make it happen. So I have to find another way, more clever way to describe the particles. What that could be. We have to find a common, something that kind of like combines these particles together. There is something like that. And the something like that is the fact that, this is a rigid body, meaning that it cannot deform no matter how much forces you impose in your body. And if it cannot deform, then the relative position of the particle have to remain constant. They cannot move with respect to each other. They cannot. You know what I'm saying? So if I measure this distance here, distance will be always remaining constant because we're dealing with the rigid bodies. Well, that's the way to go. So maybe we can use this way. And maybe what we can do is that we will introduce an alternative coordinate system. Additional coordinate system, better way. So it's not alternative, but additional coordinate system. And with help of this additional coordinate system, we can describe every single particle within this body. Okay, let's do it. So let's introduce a new coordinate system that is called body frame of reference coordinate system. Sometimes what I call it here in my lectures is a body reference coordinate system. It's a coordinate system that is attached to body, the one that is shown here. So if the body translates, the body reference coordinate system will translate along. And if the body will rotate, it will do the same. So now this is the way we can actually use to describe every single particle within the boundaries of the body. So we can, scan all over the boundaries of the body with help of the vector u bar and define every single particle within the system. And the vector u bar, because this is described in a body reference coordinate system, that will be constant. Okay, great. So that's what we can use. So we can first, to accomplish the task, so we can first account the translation of the body reference coordinate system. That's going to be the vector r. All right. And then we simply take the vector u bar and map this vector u bar from the body reference coordinate system to global coordinate system. And then we can define every single particle with respect to this coordinate system. Beautiful, isn't it? No? You're not following me. You don't follow at all. Let's take it easy. Let's practice this a little bit. Let's think about this a little while, this concept. Again, so let me erase this. So what is our target here? What is our mission here? Our mission is to describe every single particle, infinite number of particles, with respect to reference coordinate system. Let's call it global coordinate system for sake of simplicity. Okay? Okay, we could follow the first idea that I just introduced you. So we can use these vectors, infinite number of vectors. But that's not going to be possible because then it's going to be too many variables that are describing the system. We cannot do that. So we have to limit the variables. The way we can limit the variables will be based on the usage of body reference coordinate system. So the body reference coordinate system translates and rotates with the body. All right. So now I can actually describe each one of the particles with respect to this body reference coordinate system with help of vector that is remaining constant. It's all the time constant because the body cannot deform. All right. So then, what I can do then is that I can account the translation, and then I just have to map this description to global coordinate system. And this is a mapping between the two coordinate systems that we will accomplish next. All right? How are we going to accomplish that? Okay, so that just shows what I pretty much explained to you. So now, important to understand that this is not the equation we can use. And we cannot use this equation as it is here because this one here is expressed by using global coordinates. This one here is expressed by using local coordinates. So they don't match. You cannot submit the vectors that are in a different coordinate system. Not possible. So what you need to do for this guy here is that you have to convert it to global coordinate system. How? How we can do that? With help of something called rotation matrix. Let me explain. Okay, I have here a system that I have here body reference coordinate system. Hold on here. This one here, which is translated amount of R shown here, and then this is rotated in such the way that the angle with respect to body reference coordinate system and the global coordinate system is defined as a theta. The vector u bar having a certain orientation with respect to body coordinate system. How much? That is defined as an alpha. Yeah, it's small. But hopefully you will understand. So entire angle here will be alpha plus theta. Now with help of this information I can look at the projections in global coordinate axis. First one, x direction. How can I do that? So it's going to be the length of this vector shown here multiplied by cosine, because the way you see how it is oriented, cosine alpha plus theta. Then the y direction, which is this one here, similar way, except this time is sine operation. Okay? You with me? Then we're going to go to mathematics and we're going to look at trigonometric relation as shown here. No thinking whatsoever. No thinking this time. We're going to just go and take the equation from mathematical collection of trigonometric relations. We're going to substitute that information to this equation. We can express projection in a global coordinate system. Look what I'm aiming for. I want to see the projections in a global coordinate system. This one and this one. That's what I'm aiming for. Okay, so I can express it as it is shown here. I will take another piece of information that plays a critical role. I will look at the projections in a body reference coordinate system, which is this one here, which is expressed here. So is x projection. So is a length of the vector multiplied by cosine alpha this time. All right. So then I will use another projection, which is this one here. That's exactly the same, except it is sine alpha. Kind of fast here, but this is how it goes. Now I'm using this information to my original equation. I can express everything as it is shown here. So now I have here again, projection in the global coordinate system, and then I have here a component in a body reference coordinate system. I can separate it and express it as it is shown here. And now this is extremely important for us. So what we have here is that we have a vector in a global coordinate system, then something that is doing the trick, mapping from one coordinate system to another coordinate system. Which one? From body to global. That's what it's doing for us. And then we have here vector u bar in body reference coordinate system. Makes sense? Beautiful? No, it's not beautiful. This is just the normal stuff. Business as usual. What is going to be beautiful is the stuff that you will meet next week. Okay, but here's a summary. So I have here the mapping. Again, hold on. I have here the mapping in a global coordinate system, and then this is the magic matrix that is doing the trick for me. This will be the orthogonal matrix, 2 by 2 orthogonal matrix, providing some mathematical benefits for us. And then there's the vector u bar. So I can, in a compact word, or in another word, I can express it as it is shown here. And this is the mapping matrix that I need to do the tricking or mapping from one coordinate system to another. This is what we will repeat over and over and over again in this course. You look like, please God, give me a strength. It will be fine, believe me, because we always practicing. And then I'm asking in class quizzes to entertain myself. Okay, so let's practice. Can we practice? Oh, this is the whole story. So of course you have to take this translation into account. So the definition of description of particle will be based on 2 components. The one that is describing the translation, one that is describing the orientation. Now look what happened here. We started from the description of particle. Particle don't have any rotation because it's no dimension. And now we're describing something with help of the body reference coordinate system, and now all of a sudden we have rotations. That's because the body reference coordinate system can rotate. That's why. Make a big difference of these 2 concepts. The particle never rotate. Body will rotate. Extremely important. Okay, example. Here's an example. Okay, I have beam-like body. The beam-like body, translated amount that is defined. Numerical values are provided here. So it translated 2 units in a global x direction, 1 unit in a global y direction. So the r is defined here. Then the orientation seems to be 90 degrees, which is p divided by 2. P divided by 2. And then I can, this is already, I got the numerical values for this guy. The p divided by 2, which is mentioned here, I can use it to get this 2 by 2 rotation matrix. The only thing that is difficult here, what is going to be the vector u bar? So what is going to be the vector u bar? The vector u bar, the axes are not clear here, but the x-axis is pointing here, y-axis is pointing here. So we are now in this body reference coordinate system, and our target is to travel here to here, where the point B is located. How is that I can make that happen? How is going to be the component of vector u bar? How much I need to travel in a x direction? Length of the body is 1. How much? Give a shot. 10? 0? Yes, sir. 1. Correct. It's 1. You, my friend, I'm gonna provide you a coffee coupon. Not the lunch, but the coffee. What about the y direction? How much we need to travel to that direction? 7? 10? More. More the better, isn't it? Less? How much? 0. Correct. 0 is all here. So you can take a look at this one here. So it's all here. So is that much how you travel? Because you're in a different coordinate system now. So now, the final position here, you just simply do the math, and that's how it is. 2 units, 2 units. So that's where the point B is located. That's what we're going to repeat over and over again. And this is the way we can express the constraints, joints. Okay. So you said that it was 75% is the success rate. Correct. Okay. What are the other guesses? Okay. More or less. Who is with me? I say 65. She's saying 75. You with me or with her? Or you don't want to guess? Okay. Let's take a look. Not this one. I almost make a mistake. Look at that. 68% was correct. So the one that is not a multi-body system is a bridge, because it's a single chunk. It's a one system where the bodies cannot move with respect to each other, because I'm assuming that the bridge is a rigid body. Here we're speaking about the rigid bodies. What's wrong in Elvis? Elvis is a biomechanical system. Yeah, so when Elvis is doing this, it's a biomechanical system. He's moving. It's just actuated by muscles, not by hydraulics or any other means of actuators, but muscles. Okay. So what do you say? Should be closed for today. Again, sorry about YouTube mess. What is your opinion regarding to YouTube? Should we stay on it or go someplace else or do something else?
Please use that same positive can-do thinking and stay with it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, but you guys, would you like to you prefer YouTube, or you would like me to try something else? That's good. Okay. Okay, so please subscribe me. So it's a Professor X. Is this? I will explain where that is coming from next week. And then I'm expecting when I see you in a corridor, this is the way we say hello. Why? I will explain that to you on Monday. Okay, let me close the system. Let me close the recording. And again, guided tutorials will be on next week, not this week. Okay, any comments or questions this time that you would like to share with your fellow students? Nothing this time. All right, take it easy. See you on Monday.